have a deeper and deeper understanding of the universe. But we think now, we love to think that right now that we're filled with knowledge, and we love to look at ourselves now and look at the past as, well, they didn't know back then, but we know now. But if we looked in the past, they would have the same ideas.
Exactly.
They would look back at those poor monkey people with the bananas, and they'd go, those fucking dummies, they didn't even know houses yet. We will one day look back at 2015 like, what a bunch of fools. What a bunch of ridiculous people that were still, they had this incredibly complicated society and this wonderful access to information, but yet they were still shackled down by ideology and killing each other over religion and ancient superstitions that dictated their behaviors. Like, what a weird time to be in. They'll look at. They'll look at us now in 2015. They'll say, "What a strange time! This adolescent period of enlightenment."
The art of meditation is a way of getting into touch with reality. And the reason for it is that most civilized people are out of touch with reality because they confuse the world as it is with the world as they think about it and talk about it and describe it. For on the one hand, there is the real world, and on the other, a whole system of symbols about that world which we have in our minds. These are very, very useful symbols. All civilization depends on them. But like all good things, they have their disadvantages, and the principal disadvantage of symbols is that we confuse them with reality, just as we confuse money with actual wealth, and our names about ourselves, our ideas of ourselves, our images of ourselves with ourselves. Now, of course, reality, from a philosopher's point of view, is a dangerous word. A philosopher will ask me, what do I mean by reality? Am I talking about the physical world of nature? Or am I talking about a spiritual world, or what? And to that I have a very simple answer. When we talk about the material world, that is actually a philosophical concept. So in the same way, if I say that reality is spiritual, that's also a philosophical concept. And reality itself is not a concept. Reality is and we won't give it a name. Now, it's amazing what doesn't exist in the real world. For example, in the real world, there aren't any things, nor are there any events. That doesn't mean to say that the real world is a perfectly featureless blank. It means that it is a marvelous system of wiggles in which we descry things and events in the same way as we would project images on a Rorschach blot or pick out particular groups of stars in the sky and call them constellations as if they were separate groups of stars. Well, they're groups of stars in the mind's eye, in our system of concepts. They are not out there as constellations already grouped in the sky. So in the same way, the difference between myself and all the rest of the universe is nothing more than an idea. It is not a real difference. And meditation is the way in which we come to feel our basic inseparability from the whole universe. And what that requires is that we shut up. That is to say, that we become interiorly silent and cease from the interminable chatter that goes on inside our skulls. Because, you see, most of us think compulsively all the time. That is to say, we talk to ourselves. And I remember when I was a boy, we had a common saying, talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Now, obviously, if I talk all the time, I don't hear what anyone else has to say. And so in exactly the same way, if I think all the time, that is to say, if I talk to myself all the time, I don't have anything to think about except thoughts. And therefore I'm living entirely in the world of symbols, and I'm never in relationship with reality. All right, now that's the first basic reason for meditation. But there is another sense, and this is going to be a little bit more difficult to understand, why we could say that meditation doesn't have a reason or doesn't have a purpose. And in this respect, it's unlike almost all other things that we do, except perhaps making music and dancing. Because when we make music, we don't do it in order to reach a certain point, such as the end of the composition. If that were the purpose of music, to get to the end of the piece, then obviously the fastest players would be the best. And so likewise, when we are dancing, we are not aiming to arrive at a particular place on the floor, as we would be if we were taking a journey. When we dance, the journey itself is the point. When we play music, the playing itself is the point. And exactly the same thing is true in meditation. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. And therefore, if you meditate for an ulterior motive, that is to say, to improve your mind, to improve your character, to be more efficient in life, you've got your eye on the future and you are not meditating. Because the future is a concept. It doesn't exist. As the proverb says, tomorrow never comes. There is no such thing as tomorrow. There never will be, because time is always now. And that's one of the things we discover when we stop talking to ourselves and stop thinking. We find there is only a present, only an eternal now. So it's funny then, isn't it, that one meditates for no reason at all, except we could say for the enjoyment of it. And here I would interpose the essential principle that meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion, as we know it, is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
You speak. Now I know there are at least two of us. And the truth is, there are more than two of us. There are thousands. If you, it's a delusion if it happens to one person. It's a cult if it happens to 20 people. And it's true if it happens to 10,000 people. Well, this is a strange way to have epistemological authenticity conferred upon something. We vote on it, you know. So I would like competition. I mean, I feel pretty lonely out here. I'm surprised nobody has followed me into this. There must be other people who can articulate these things as well or better than I can. But boy, they don't seem to come forth. And I really don't know why that is, because what I say is not all that exceptional. It's just the sum total of it is kind of eerie. But if we don't, that's why I was saying, you know, we cannot evolve faster than we evolve our language. Our language is like the collective skin of our culture. So, you know, until you say the words self-transforming elf machines from hyperspace, then there aren't such things. Once you say it, it has gained a certain kind of ontological currency.
That's a really insane thing when you stop and think about it. Because I think we associate ourselves, or we try to think of ourselves as being some sort of an independent entity. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm me, and, well, I feel good when I have a cup of coffee and a glass of orange juice, but the idea that you literally are what you've put into your body, and that it doesn't just fuel your body, but it makes your body. Like, and your body changes and varies dependent upon what you're putting in.
Yeah. We're like 1 trillion organisms, actually, that just have one overmind. So that everything's not just warring with each other and making like, I need this, I need this, I need this. We just have one overmind, but it's really, you know, we're the king of 1 trillion cells. And are we going to be a good ruler to these? They're like our loyal subjects. Like, we have a little kingdom in our body. And are we going to be a good ruler? Or are we going to be a shitty one that just talks shit to them and gives them shit food and, you know, taxes the hell out of them, asks too much, gives too little?
Well, we have one voice where it comes out of one whole. But I don't necessarily know that's like one thing in there that's running the show.
That's true.
Because I think we like to think that it is, but god damn, it shifts loyalty and direction. It's all over the place. The mind and who you know, in quotes, when you think of yourself as me, you know, me, when you yourself, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Like, what are you saying? Like, what are you saying? I'm going to lead the troops, but who are you? You change all the time, motherfucker. Right. You're different whether or not you've had a nap, whether you've had a cup of coffee, whether you're taking your alpha brain. You're fucking different all the time. Like, who are you, bitch? You're so inconsistent. Like, what's going on in there? Well, what's going on in there is you're an ecosystem. You're like, it's like the jungle calling itself a thing. The jungle's not a thing. The jungle is fucking millions of things, all in a cycle where the big ones are eating the little ones, and then the big ones die, and the little ones absorb it, and it's like this constant, ever-going thing that's happening. The idea of it being like a lighter, you know, or like a brick, you know, it's not it's a fucking giant system.
So when you think fantasizing about the past or the future, it is just because you're afraid of the present. Check it out. You know, the present is a very nice place to stay. I recommend it. The best hotel in the world is right now, this present moment. The best holiday is a holiday from the past and the future, and the holiday from thinking. So that is why we teach meditation. So you can have a taste of what it's like just to be peaceful. Not thinking, not fantasizing, not worrying about anything in the world, just being here.